Здравствуйте, друзья. Hello. All right, so it's 10 minutes before we start. Let's just make sure that everybody can see and hear me just fine. If you could just type maybe a plus or hi in the chat and let me know that you can hear me okay. Hello. All right, wonderful. Спасибо. All right, so I'm doing fine. Thank you so much. Здравствуйте. And friends, thank you so much for coming today. I'm really, really happy to see you here. And I'm a bit nervous because that's the first time in my life that I'm doing a webinar. So I hope that everything will be okay. So while we're waiting for others to join, why don't you tell me where you're from and how long have you been studying Russian? Okay, I see Lach Pizin from Brazil. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your names. Здравствуйте, очень приятно. I'm recognizing some of the names. Из Пакистана, здравствуйте. Пуэрто-Рико, очень здравствуйте, очень приятно. Спасибо. Thank you, Ismail. I'll take it easy. Индиана, US, отлично. США, хорошо, Blade. Ага. Так, Гана, all right. Николас из Греции, здравствуйте. Так, привет, привет. Afghanistan, all right. Хорошо. 3 years, okay, I see. Так, for some reason, I don't see the whole mess. Okay, now I see. From Egypt, all right. Maya из Хорватии. Philippines, хорошо, wow. A lot of countries. Из Египта, Egypt. Very nice, very nice. Очень много стран. More than 4 years, 5 years. Thank you very much, Aftab. Спасибо за комплимент. Спасибо. Так. 5 лет учу. All right. So tell me, what is the most difficult thing for you when it comes to Russian? Oops. Is it like learning the new words? Is it the grammar, the cases, the listening? Like we'll be talking about listening today, but I realize it's not the only problem. So maybe some of the future webinars, I will speak about something else, maybe some other problems that you have. New words, definitely. Да. Ударение, stresses, for sure, yeah. You know that Russian has no rules about stress, so you just have to memorize each single word separately. No one to speak to in your country. Yeah, lack of practice. Окончание, endings. Nice to meet you too. Yes, definitely. So, for example, Maja, you say that there is no one to speak to in your country, but thank God there is internet. There are a lot of language exchange websites nowadays, so you can find a partner there. Endings, yes, Russian endings, really something. Verbs, didn't get why there are 2 types of verbs. Well, just because. I guess that's the answer. Маркус из Германии. Изучаете в течение 6 лет. Здравствуйте, очень приятно. Из Египта я вижу. Хорошо. Так. Okay. I'm really happy to hear that my channel has been helpful. Спасибо большое. Сейчас мне не кажется, что русский язык трудный. Речевое понимание, yes. I mean, if you ask me if Russian is difficult or not, it is certainly quite difficult, but I always say if a bunch of people manage to speak this language, then it probably is based on some logic, some human logic, so you can do this too. Глаголы движения, for sure. Yes, for sure, verbs of motion. Склонение существительных и глаголов. Well, conjugating... Actually, I don't think conjugating the verbs is so difficult in Russian. Like past tense is one of the easiest thing we have in the language. And you just have to memorize the endings. For nouns, yeah, that's something quite different. And verbs of motion, yeah. Like, honestly, I think if I were to study Russian, I'm not sure if I would if I would manage to get the verbs of motion ever. I'm not sure. Вы из Судана, Ахмед, очень приятно. Русский язык — это очень трудно. Yeah, and I guess a lot depends on what your first language is. Также русские говорят супер быстро. Russians speak super fast. Okay, we will discuss this today, actually, if we really speak that fast or not. Все, русский язык сложно. Well, actually, I could probably say the same thing about some other languages. I think every foreign language is difficult to some extent. Especially if you don't have this concept in your language, right? So, for example, if you're from Greece, then you know what cases are. Or if you speak German, that you know what cases are. So it's like half of the deal already. You just have to memorize which endings to use in which situations, but you know what it is. For many people, even like grasping the concept of what a case is difficult. Так, хорошо. The meanings of verbal prefixes have many different meanings. Yes. That certainly is hard. Yeah, one tiny prefix can have a lot of meanings. Yeah, but again, practice, and eventually you get it. The more you listen to the language, the more you speak to people, the more natural it becomes. Да, так что все возможно. Everything is possible. Все возможно. Так, хорошо. Okay, so we have 4 more minutes to wait for those who hasn't joined us yet, and then we will start. Так, привет из Парижа. Уф, здравствуйте, Париж. You are on the list of the next city I'm going to visit. One of the next cities, hopefully. Очень-очень красивый город. Твердый знак, the hard sign. You like the sign is difficult, the concept is difficult, or what? Так. Let's see. Хорошо. All right, and maybe the last question I have before we start is what do you do to improve your listening? So maybe that will be really helpful for me to know before I get into what I have prepared for you to avoid a repetition. Okay, another big difficulty for me is how you make diminutives of nouns. Yes. But again, this topic is pretty limited, so there are just that many suffixes you have to memorize. But exactly, that's difficult. Состав и порядок предложения. Yes, Russian is very flexible, so that can cause difficulties. Do you think the pronunciation of Russian has softened over time? Good question. No, I don't think so. I don't think that phonetics have changed that dramatically over the past decades. Even though when I listen to older movies, like from the Soviet periods, I think that they sound a bit different, but it may be the audio, just the technical part. Привет из Швейцарии. I've been to Switzerland. Switzerland is beautiful. Привет, Швейцария. The word electricity took more than an hour to pronounce correctly. Электричество, да. Привет из Северной Каролины. I went to North Carolina just in April. It was a beautiful, beautiful place. Хорошо. Так, ну что? Ну что, друзья, I think we can start. Давайте начнем. So, since you are here, most likely you know who I am. But let me just introduce myself briefly. And I'm sorry if I miss your message in the chat while I'm talking, but I will definitely get back to the chat later. So my name is Anna, and I am a Russian language teacher from New York City, as you know, and I have been living in the States for 9 years, and for those 9 years, I have been teaching Russian here. Today, we are going to talk about improving your listening skills in Russian. And each part of the language is important. It's important to speak, it's important to learn grammar, it's important to learn the vocab. But one of the goals why we learn the language is to understand the others, right? So I have a lot of students who are married to Russian ladies, and they are learning the language to understand their mother-in-law or their father-in-law, or what they're discussing to be able to understand what's going on in the family. Or when you travel to Russia, you want to be able to talk to people there, right? To ask for even directions or to ask about culture, whatever it is. For me, this topic is particularly relevant because when I came to the States 9 years ago, my English was pretty fluent. It's decent to say that I was maybe C1 already at the time. So I could speak without any problems. I could write pretty decent essays. But it turned out that I could not understand a single word. I don't think I ever shared this story before, but on my second day in New York City, my aunt, who lived here, took me to the store. And we went shopping, and I bought a pair of jeans. And then I went to the register, and the girl at the register said, "Do you want your receipt in the bag?" And I'm like, "What?" And she said, "Do you want your receipt in the bag?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I don't understand." And so my aunt came and helped me out, and she just took the receipt, took the bag, and we left. But it demonstrated that despite the fact that I had been studying English for like 15 years at that moment, since I was a baby, I still could not understand. And it took me quite some time to accommodate to the sound of the language. And it was a really frustrating and difficult period. So not understanding is frustrating at any stage, but it's even more frustrating when you have spent some time with the language, a few years, and it's still as if you never studied this. I remember I was in a coffee shop one day in my first year in the States, and it was in the Wall Street area. So the Wall Street in New York City is the area of success, you know, money, people, suits, all is so like fancy and beautiful. And I was in a coffee shop, and two ladies were sitting next to me, two American girls, and they were chatting. And I got so upset. I was like, I will never be able to understand. I will never be able to become a part of this country. Thank God I was wrong. So I will tell you right away that everything is possible. And it just takes time to get used to the sound. All right, so let's see what we're going to discuss today. So there are 5 points that I would like to discuss. The first one will be 2 main reasons why you don't understand Russian. Then we will discuss the most common mistakes that you possibly are making when you try to work on your listening skills. Then I will offer some possible solutions. Then we will discuss the materials that you can use for listening and the materials that you should not use. And we will finish with me offering a strategy that I use personally for myself to work on my listening skills. So that's the plan. So let's start. There are basically 2 main reasons why a person does not understand a foreign language, in my opinion. The first one is that you don't know enough vocabulary and grammar, as simple as it is. For example, one of my weak points recently has been that I started to watch one Turkish TV series. Don't ask me how it happened, but I just started to watch a Turkish TV series. It's really cheesy, and I don't speak a single word of Turkish. And I spent a month watching this TV series, but I still don't know a single word of Turkish, right? So I don't understand what they are saying. I just read the subtitles. So it means that I just don't know enough vocab and grammar to be able to understand. So maybe if you're listening to a text in Russian and you have no idea what was said, it's just not the text of your level. Maybe it's above your level. The second reason why you don't understand is that your ears are not trained. Our ear can be compared to a muscle, and it takes time to get accustomed to the sound of the language. Like, it took me more than a year being fluent already in English to get used to the sound of the American English, for example. Right? So two main reasons. A, you don't know enough words or grammar. B, your ear is not trained. So it's really that simple. No other secrets. Let me just look at the comments. All right. Okay, so now let's see what we can do to improve this, what we can do to correct the situation, and which mistakes we should avoid when we work on our listening skills. So the first thing is maybe you just don't listen enough. That's the mistake that I made when I was studying English. I told in one of my videos that my mom taught English to me. And we really studied hard. So every day we spent at least an hour doing grammar exercises, reading texts, studying the vocabulary. But for some reason, we just did not listen, right? There were not so many resources available at that time in Russia. We didn't have internet. We didn't have access to YouTube back then. So we really didn't have the materials. And I had to pay for that later when I came to London for the first time when I was 18. And I got fined. I had to pay a fine. And I had no idea that that was happening because I just could not understand what the person was saying. I didn't pay in the subway correctly, and I had no idea that I did that. Some people I see in the comments, they are writing immersion. Well, guys, of course, the best way to learn a language is to move to the country where this language is spoken, right? There is no doubt about that. I will not argue. But since most likely not very many of you are going to move to Russia in the next few years, so let's see what can be done right now. So you don't listen enough. That's reason number one. The mistake you may be making, number two, is you are listening passively. So maybe you are cooking and listening to Russian TV series at the background, or maybe you are driving and listening to the Russian radio. It will not hurt you, but it will not improve your listening, I'm sorry to say. At least it will not improve it dramatically. So you should listen actively, not listen passively. The third mistake you are making is you're not working on your grammar and vocabulary. So you're not improving your level of Russian to be able to understand more. We spoke about this already. So please make sure that you learn the words and grammar to proceed, to get more advanced in the language. The fourth mistake that you can be making is you expect to hear one word, but people actually pronounce it differently. There is such concept in linguistics as reduction. You have it in English when you're saying I'm gonna, I wanna, gotcha. So when I was studying English, I was expecting to hear I am going to. But when I came to the States, I heard I'm gonna, I wanna, etc. Russian is not an exception. We do reduce to. So let's make a small experiment. I will say a few words that you most likely know in Russian. Please type and let me know if you know what they mean. So the first one is «Здрасте». What does «Здрасте» mean in Russian? Let me see if I see any correct answers. Yes, «Здрасте» means hello, «Здравствуйте». Да? Absolutely, yes. Thank you for the answers. Okay, that was easy. What about «щас»? «Щас». What does «щас» mean? Сейчас, very nice. Yes, Michael, I see the first correct answer. Сейчас. Сейчас is сейчас. What about check? Check. No, сейчас was not time, it was сейчас, да? So what about check? Check. Человек, exactly. Check. Check, человек. So I could say a sentence like «Я сейчас такого человека видела». «Я сейчас такого человека видела». Да? So I have just seen such a person. I may be exaggerating slightly, but that's really what you will hear in real life. Я сейчас такого человека видела. I will not say я сейчас такого человека видела. Да? Or another super common example, тысяча. What is тысяча? Тысяча. 1,000. Very nice. Yes, so some of you know. Тысяча is the same as тысяча. Да? If you know this, then wonderful, but you have to be prepared for that. So maybe that's the mistake you're making. You are not prepared to hearing the reductions. People combining words, people cutting the words, etc. Okay, so far so good. Yeah, I think we're good for now. The next mistake you are making is you try to translate each word in the sentence that you hear. So you didn't get one word, you get stuck there, you're trying to translate, and you have missed the rest of the sentence. That's a complaint that I hear quite often from my students. Oh my God, we didn't understand anything because I started to translate this word and I missed the rest. So understanding a language, and please get it, understanding a foreign language is not understanding it word by word and translating into your native language. Understanding a foreign language is like creating a new space in your brain and you just get it. It's hard to explain, but if you speak any other foreign language, you probably know what I mean, right? If you speak English to me, I don't translate it into Russian, I just understand. If somebody speaks a foreign language that you know to you, you probably also don't translate it to your language, you just understand it. All right, very nice. And the last mistake that you may be making is you listen to only audios for students and you don't listen to real people. Audios for students are great, and I don't say that you should not use them, but in real life, we do speak differently. You probably have noticed it already. We all have different tones of the voice. We all speak with different speed. We all speak with different way of clearance. Some people mumble, some people stutter, some people do whatever, right? And even though, surprisingly, phonetic-wise, Russia is pretty united, so we don't have what I would say different accents like you do in the States or in some other countries. Like I have a student from Venezuela, and he told me that if you like travel from west to east, it will be like 10 different accents. Russia is pretty stable in this sense due to the Soviet Union. There are some regional differences, slight differences, but I don't think that my accent, for example, and I'm from the south of Russia, is very different from a person who is from St. Petersburg. But we still speak differently. So you should listen to real people. So these are the main mistakes that students can be making? Let me just look at the chat really quickly to make sure that I haven't missed anything. That's why you have to hear the words and phrases and sentences, not just words. Yes, I agree. Could you recommend some podcasts? I will be talking about materials later. Isn't mumbling common among Russian speakers, especially men? I don't know. I think it depends not on the gender, but on a person. But some people mumble, for sure. Even I think when I speak Russian to Russians, I tend to mumble sometimes. Let's see. Watching films is very helpful. Indeed, we will speak about this right now. Authentic materials are more useful than ready-to-make lessons. Sometimes yes, sometimes not. All right. So now let's move to the next point of our webinar, what to do. What can you do to work on those mistakes? What can you do to improve your listening? So first of all, our first mistake was that you don't listen enough. So please listen more. I'm sorry, but I probably will not tell you any special secret tonight. I really believe in work, and I really believe that any achievements in this life come through the amount of work we have invested into something. So if you want to be able to understand, you have to listen. If you want to learn how to write, you have to write. If you want to learn how to speak, you have to open your mouth and speak. That's the only way to develop a skill, really. So now, what to listen to? So a great way is to listen to audiobooks. And I will provide a link to a website where you can purchase really cheap audiobooks. They should not be more expensive than $4 or something. And on this website, you have an audiobook and you have the real book, and you can buy both. And so you read a text and you listen. Of course, you have to pick the audiobook accordingly. So it should match your level. Don't take something that's too advanced. Don't take something that is too low. They say that there should be about 5 to 10% of unknown words per page in the text that you are listening to. If there are more words that you don't know, you will have to do some work first, and you will have to learn the vocabulary and learn the grammar first. So audiobooks, that's the first thing, that I would recommend listening to. Second, podcasts. Podcasts can be, again, a really great thing to do. I will not be able to recommend any specific podcasts, unfortunately, because I'm not really into the topic. Honestly, I don't think that I listen to podcasts too much myself. But I know that there are some teachers on the internet that can make really great podcasts. Maybe you can write in live chat if you know some names, or maybe you can chat on my Facebook page to share some names of people who make podcasts. So that's the second thing you should do. Then you can watch movies for sure, but again, you have to watch the movies strategically. Not just sit and watch a Russian movie like I do with the Turkish series, or watch a Russian TV series without really working on this. You have to listen and watch actively, and I will guide you in step-by-step plan of how to do this a bit later. The next thing, so the next mistake that I said you can be making is that you don't know enough vocab. So how to work on your vocabulary. You can read texts and write down all the unknown words. Flashcards are really great, right? So again, I don't think that I am discovering America, as we say in Russian here. So really work on your vocab. The more words you know, the more you will be able to understand. And one of the Yeah, they say Russian with Max podcast. I heard about this. Real Russian Club. I heard about this. Russian from Russia. I have not heard about this. But yeah, feel free to check them out. The next, Rosetta Stone. I don't like Rosetta Stone. No, not sure. Not sure about that. Okay, good. The next thing, learn the vocab, as I said, make flashcards. And please make sure that when you're learning a new word, you learn it with pronunciation. So the way you think a pencil in Russian sounds and the way this word really sounds may be really different, right? So make sure that you open some online dictionary in Russian and listen to pronunciation. There are a lot of resources where you can make your own flashcards, like Quizlet. I'm pretty sure you know about Quizlet. And there is an option when they pronounce it for you. Just please make sure that the computer, the system pronounces it correctly. Maybe listen to some different resources at the same time, right? Maybe ask a Russian friend, because I heard some Quizlet cards and they really mispronounced the words, so be careful. I don't know why it happened to the cards that I listened to, but just make sure that that's what the word really sounds. All right, the next thing you should do, I'm sorry, you have to work on your grammar, because Russian is a super flexible language and we don't have a sentence structure. So it's not like an English subject, predicate, object. Words can be mixed and can be put in any order. And you have to know cases, like the basics, to be able to understand what the person wants to convey, what the person wants to say. So you should never stop working on your vocabulary and on your grammar. That's a very obvious recommendation. The next thing that may help to improve your listening is improve your pronunciation. Again, please make sure that you know how to pronounce the word, right? If you pronounce it correctly, there is a higher chance that when you hear this word from a native speaker, you will be able to understand it. I think that's pretty logical. Okay, what else you can do? It's wonderful if you use songs. I saw somebody wrote songs really help. Yes, they indeed do. I heard about a person when I was in college. They told us that there was one gentleman who learned English with Beatles songs. I didn't want to believe it because listening and pronunciation have always been the hardest things for me. But our teachers claimed that he was just listening to the songs, and that's how he got his listening skills and his pronunciation to such a top level that when British people came to visit, they could not tell that he was not from England. I don't know. But listen to Russian songs, because we always learn the best from the things that we enjoy. So if you like a certain tune, please make sure you know the lyrics and then sing along. That will definitely be helpful. Okay, I see a question about the best Russian dictionary. There are a few dictionaries that you can use to check your pronunciation. One is Multitran. That's the one I use. I will type it in the PDF that I'm going to send after the webinar. So I will send all the links so that you have them. But it's a very nice dictionary that I'm using. All right. The next advice that I would like to give is to use dictation, use spelling tests. I really love doing this with my students. It doesn't have to be writing tests. You don't have to write the word. But when you memorize words, please make sure that you don't only memorize the word in Russian, from English to Russian, but also the opposite. So again, the example of this word. So I may ask a student, что это? And he will say, карандаш. But then a few minutes later, I will ask, what is karandash? And the person should be able to recognize that this is a pencil. Да? So again, you can use pre-recorded flashcards, audios, ask your friend, ask your teacher to do this to you. That's a wonderful way to make sure to train your ear and to make sure that you will be able to understand words. So not only English to Russian, so that you can say the word, but also Russian to English so that you can understand the word. That's crucial. Yeah, I know. Pencil is a very banal example, but I have it next to me, so. Хорошо. Так, very nice. And maybe the two more pieces of advice I can give is don't get attached to words you don't know. It's okay to understand not 100% ever, always, and specifically at certain stages of you getting the language. Believe me, everything will pass and everything will come, and there will be a day when you start understanding Russian. Like it happened to me, the day when I started to understand English came. Да? I didn't know, I didn't expect, but it really happened. So that will happen to you too. So that's okay. It's okay to skip the words you don't know. It's nice if you get back to them later. But if you're listening to somebody, especially in real life, don't get fixated. Just keep listening. So yes, not understanding 100% is okay. That's probably the best piece of advice I can give. All right. So now, what materials to pick and what materials not to choose? So there are certain criteria to the materials you have to take in order to work on your listening. First, again, very banal piece of advice, the topic has to interest you. Like, you will never make me sit and work on piece of information that I have no interest in. But I can spend days willingly watching a Spanish La Casa de Papel or a stupid Turkish TV series. So pick something enjoyable. Second, make sure that it matches your level. Don't listen to something that is too advanced. So don't listen to something that has too many words you don't know, too much terminology maybe. So don't watch to some specific TV series about medicine, for example, unless it's your goal to learn how to understand medical terminology in Russian. I would not recommend watching Dr. House in Russian, even if it's your favorite TV series. It's probably too advanced, right? The stupider the thing you watch is sometimes the better. I'm very sorry to say that. But if you pick a simple, silly TV show, series, that will probably be very good. It will be very good for improving your listening skills. The next thing, talk to real people, right? So real people can be your best material for improving your listening skills. Find a friend, a language partner. There are so many resources. There are so many websites where you can find a language partner. And let's say you offer your language and the person offers his or her Russian language in exchange. That's probably one of the most effective ways to improve your listening. Now, the materials that you should not use to improve your Russian listening skills. Please do not listen to fairy tales. Do not take Russian fairy tales, especially folk fairy tales, as your resource. As wonderful as they are, as much as I love them, they are the worst thing you can pick, because the vocab is so outdated that even children nowadays, Russian children, will not know what a lot of those words mean. If you ask me the meaning of certain words in those fairy tales, I will not know. And I'm pretty educated, but I guess the general meaning, and I still cannot tell you what each word means, right? So, and I cannot imagine why an adult would want to know words like a witch or a fairy or a wand. Like, when would you use it in everyday conversation. So no fairy tales, probably stories for children. Some people wrongly believe that stories for children are easy. That's not the case. Some stories really are easier, but most of the stories for children are easy in concepts, but not in the language, right? So the vocab again they use may be fairy and magical, and even if it's not, maybe the words that they use for children, you will not really need. Okay, the next thing you should not use is poetry. Again, as wonderful and amazing as Russian poetry is, it is really complex. The vocabulary is really poetic, and I would not recommend picking poetry as a resource for improving your listening. And the last two more things. Don't pick the text with terminology, and I explained why already. Especially if you don't even know in your own language what the meaning of those words are. The only thing it will cause is frustration. And the fourth thing you should not probably turn to is the news, because in the news they use really formal vocabulary, and the speed is usually very fast. So news will not be the best resource to improve your listening skills. Again, unless it's your specific goal to work on understanding the Russian news. So these are the 4 points that I would not recommend taking as the part to the step-by-step guide to active listening. So how do you work on improving your listening skills? So first, you have to listen to a phrase. Let's say you don't understand what it means. So the second step is to look at the subtitles. You have to read and translate each word from the subtitles, so you have to know what the phrase is saying. Then you have to pronounce the phrase several times out loud. That's very important because that will help you to differentiate the words in the sentence. And thus, it will make it easier to understand. The next step is you have to listen to the phrase several times looking at the subtitles. So you read and you listen, and thus you connect the two, the written text and the sounding text. Then the next thing you will do, step number 5, is you have to repeat the phrase together with the speaker, mimicking the intonation and the phonetics. That's a very important step. That will really help you. Speaking the phrase together with the person will help you understand. And then step number 6, you will listen to the phrase without the subtitles. So that's the outline of basically how you have to work on your listening skills. Listen to the phrase, make sure you understand the translation, that you understand each word. Then say the phrase out loud several times. Then listen to the phrase again, looking at the subtitles. Step number 5, say it together with the speaker, mimicking the intonation and the pronunciation. And number 6, listen to the phrase without subtitles, and you will see that you are able to understand. If you do everything from the previous 5 steps, I'm pretty sure that you will be able to get it. And when you work on listening, it's important that you pick only a small piece of video or audio. That's super important. Please don't watch the whole movie. It will not improve your listening skills, especially if you are reading the English subtitles, because you will be so immersed into the story that you are not really listening. If you pay attention to this next time you watch a Russian movie with English subtitle, you will really see that you are not hearing the Russian that much. You think that you are, but you are not, because you are reading the English subtitles. So pick 2 minutes, 5 minutes. I don't think that you should pick more. Some people say 15, but I don't believe in 15 minutes. And then follow this scheme, follow this this list, and I hope that you will get results. I will definitely send you this step-by-step guide in the email. And actually, yeah, if you want to get an email from me, guys, please send me an email to russianfromtheheart@gmail.com saying that you want to get this PDF. I'm really sorry. I know I should be modern and I should have invited you to the webinar using a special link so that I don't have to ask for your emails. But I have no idea how to do this. So please, let's use the old way. If you want to receive a PDF with the content of this webinar, and we're almost done, please send me an email to russianfromtheheart@gmail.com, and I will reply later today with the PDF that will have some links to the materials you can use, and with the step-by-step guidance. And also, I actually want to ask your opinion about something. So I am planning to start a new course in 2 weeks. I believe it will be Monday, September 31st, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to make a listening intensive. So in my mind, I have an idea that we will be working together for 4 weeks, listening to 8 different pieces, video pieces. It's similar to Breakfast at Daddy's that became quite popular on my channel, or those pieces of interviews that, again, a lot of people saw. So please let me know if you think that it's a good idea. So my thought is that we will listen to 2 pieces of videos, like 5 to 15 minutes long, each week. And I will offer different exercises, explanation of the video, and different exercises that will help you to improve your listening skills and your vocabulary. I think there will be roughly 50 new words per week from those 2 videos, maybe more. I'm still working on the course. Yeah, so if you are interested, then I invite you to join this course. It will be $60 to participate for 4 weeks, with me being on the other side of the email all the time. But if you sign up, they told me to do this. If you sign up by Monday night, New York time, that it will be $45 for you. So if you are interested, please email me to russianfromtheheart@gmail.com. I will provide you with more details. And this course is only for students who are intermediate and above. I will not be able to take anybody who is below intermediate, unfortunately, due to the nature of the videos, because they will require that you know grammar already to some extent and that your vocab is not quite basic. That's the first question. And actually, I have the second while I'm having you here, but that's only to ask for your advice. So somebody told me, a few students told me that I should create like a closed club where I would post different videos for subscribers, for members, like videos similar to Breakfast at Daddy's, like when we would discuss, I would just explain movies, explain songs, explain pieces of interview. If you think that it's a good idea, I would really love to hear it from you. Because I'm not sure, it will take a lot of time from me, so I'm not sure if a lot of people will be interested in this like club system with membership, where I would post like 4 or 5 new videos every month, fully explained, similar to Breakfast at Daddy's. Let me know, please. If you want to shoot me an email, if you want to let me know here, please. All right, and let me do the last thing. Let me look at the messages, because I missed quite a few. Let me go back all the way. Так. Just give me a second. I'm looking at the messages. Okay, audiobooks are very helpful. Videos, films are helpful. The question from Chris, do most Russians know English language? No, they do not, I believe. In Moscow, most likely a lot of people speak English. But when I was growing up in Russia, I believe there was just a handful of people who could speak Russian. Let's see. Okay, no, Anki flashcards. I use Anki. I don't know how to pronounce this. Anki, A-N-K-I flashcards. They are really effective with learning vocab, Tom says. I heard about those flashcards from a couple of students. Never checked them out, but I heard they're good. Yes, I have audio file play on each card. Absolutely. Хочу все знать is one good podcast. I think I heard about it. All right. I'm a medical student. I want to speak Russian, but I have very little time for Russian language. What can I do to solve this problem? I'm afraid you can only get more time to study Russian. Listen, guys, nothing just comes, nothing just falls on a person from above like a present. The results you get is equal to the amount of work you invest into them. There are no shortcuts. Yes, Carrie Tom, I agree with you. Spend countless hours to achieve fluency in Russian. I don't know about countless, but definitely you have to spend a lot of time studying, especially Russian, any language, but Russian especially. Forvo is a great website to help you with the pronunciation. I've never heard about this website. Vocabulary, yes, but not just words, but full sentences. Listen, I don't know about that. It's definitely helpful to memorize vocabulary in sentences, in phrases. But I believe that Russian is like Lego, like this game for children. So if you know the basic word and if you know the rules and you put two and two together, you can kind of compose any sentence you want. But whatever helps. You can listen to several native speakers pronounce words. Absolutely. Okay, I will write about the dictionary. What about the right accents to the words? How can we learn to put stresses in the right syllable? Tamar, unfortunately, you just memorize it. There are no rules in Russian about stress whatsoever, except one letter yo is always stressed. Otherwise, each form has to be memorized separately. I'm very sorry about that, but really no rules about stress. All right. There are really good videos on cases here on YouTube. Okay, somebody's talking about cases. We discussed that Russians are not bad at explaining their native language. It's just that we don't study the grammar that way. You really have to hire a teacher who knows when to use genitive case, because when you are a native speaker of Russia, you just don't need to know this. You don't need to know that Russian is used, genitive is used after negation. You know this. So they don't teach us this at school. That's a very interesting topic that I discussed a few times with my students. Different views on Russian, right? If you're a native speaker or not. Some students are interested in learning about cases. Can you help them? Well, friends, you know I have the Russian Cases Bootcamp. I'm actually very proud of this program, and I got a few good reviews from students who took this program. It took me more than a year to make it, and I invested all of my knowledge and all of myself into this course. So I invite you to come and try Russian Cases Bootcamp if you want. The first week is free. After that, it's $200 for a 5-month course full of videos, vocab, grammar exercises. If you're interested, email me to russianfromtheheart@gmail.com. Okay, we're speaking about the news. The news are also extremely fast. Yes. News in slow Russian is good, though. Absolutely. They are meant for students, right? So I'm talking about the news meant for native speakers. Don't use news from Russia 24 or the first channel 1 in Russia. All right. I guess there are. Am I available for private tutoring? Yes, I am available for private tutoring. You can email me to russianfromtheheart@gmail.com. I will tell you about that. All right, I guess that is it. I think there are no more questions. So, friends, good, 45 minutes, exactly like I planned. So thank you so much for watching this webinar. I think we will stop here. So again, to summarize, please send me an email to russianfromtheheart@gmail.com if you want me to send you the summary of this webinar with the links, a few links, don't expect too many, and the step-by-step guidance to improving your audio. If you want to participate in my new upcoming listening intensive, and if you sign up by tomorrow night, New York time, it will be only $45 instead of $60 for you. Please email me as well. I'm really sorry I don't have any other system. You have to physically write to me if you want to take part. If you want to try the cases, the Russian Cases Bootcamp, again, please also email me. And after I get your emails, I will respond with the summary and with whatever questions you have. So спасибо большое. I was really nervous, but I think it turned out okay. So thank you so much for watching. And I will see you in my next video. That's coming very soon. Спасибо большое. Пока-пока.